I'm going to try to explain the sort of strange stuff that happens in my life, the kind of spiritual attacks that I have endured, the kind of like supernatural sort of things that happen in my life. It's been intense. Part of it's almost like some of it is almost like daily being in like the Truman Show. Like I might look out and see that there's almost no traffic on the road, and then I decide that I'm going to go to the store or something. And as soon as I get out to the road, suddenly there's a whole bunch of traffic and there's a traffic jam. Or I don't know, when I ended up buying a car, when I was first going to get the money, there was suddenly construction on every road we went down, blocking the road, slowing us down. And then the bank was closed for numerous days, so I couldn't get the money. And then when I finally did, and I tried to get a car, the bank kept closing. It took me almost a week to get the money to be able to even buy the car, to get the money out of the bank from the ATM and stuff. And then when I finally get the car, I drive it to the DMV to get the title, to get the tags and registration, and they were closed. But not just that one, but like 3 or 4 surrounding towns, the DMVs were all closed. They'd all shut their doors. So I had to go make a long trip to be able to even, transfer the title or do anything. The sort of stuff that happens, I'll have electronics go out on me. I have, like I said, one time I built like a half a dozen computers from various parts that I had. And I had every single one of them set up and working perfectly fine. But then one by one, as I tried to sell, as people wanted to buy them, I had one after another break. Every single one of them stopped working, refused to boot up. One at a time, every single one that I tried to sell crashed. That's the kind of stuff that happened. My TV box and my external hard drive and even the power strip all stopped working when I switched rooms. My phone, if I'm trying to make a video, sometimes my phone will just, or I'm trying to call a prayer line or whatever kind of thing I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to do something that's at all important, right? My phone just stops working. When I got booted out of the apartment because this guy attacked me and I wouldn't tell, I didn't narc him out. I didn't want to get him in a bunch of trouble because it wasn't a big deal to me, even though it made me mad and stuff. I wasn't. But they lied and tried to say that I started a fight. Anyways, I ended up getting kicked out of the apartment there. And the day that I had to move, that I had to get out, was Christmas Eve. And it hadn't snowed or been icy at all, but that day was more heavy duty ice than I've ever seen in my life. It was ice capades. I mean, super hard, super slick ice. It was everywhere, everywhere. And I had to move everything out of there, mostly by myself, in thick ice, and then drive in that to even get to the motel. And I ended up paying a buttload of money for quite some time. And this is Christmas Eve, you know, the first Christmas after my mom died. This is what I had to deal with. This is the kind of supernatural, sort of weird stuff that happens to me. I'll have my electronics get fried. I've had all kinds of things happen. TV will break, project, like all sorts of electronics has been fried. There's this dude Bill. This is just one example, right? This guy emanates some kind of power, I think darkness or whatever the heck it is, man. And he sold me a fan, like an oscillating fan. And the one day he comes over, he's kind of coveting the fan. The fan stops working right after he leaves, and this happened two more times to two different oscillating fans after that. He come over, fan stops working, one after another. That's the sort of stuff that goes on. That's just one example. There's so many things. It's hard to explain because it's so strange and unbelievable kind of stuff. It just sounds nuts. I try to tell people about the sort of stuff that goes on in my life. It just sounds like I'm freaking nutso. Like that couldn't possibly be real kind of thing. But it is. It's what happens in my life. If I try to do something to better my life, there is literally supernatural forces at work to stop me. When I went to go try to buy a mobile home, there were two for sale there, and I knew there were a bunch more around there. Every single place I've gone, there will be, if something has to be supernaturally changed to screw me over, that's what happens. There was a motel I wanted to get in. I'd driven past it hundreds of times. I know that place must have had 50 rooms or more. And then when I get there, actually trying to get in there, suddenly it's only got 4 rooms. All the other rooms disappeared. I tried to get a mobile home. I go there, a couple were for sale, and it took me forever to even get a hold of the manager. By the time I get there, those trailers were gone. They were gone. And I don't mean, oh, somebody bought them already. I mean, they were gone. They were different. They never were for sale. And the ones that were in their place were like different trailers. It made no, I went there more than a dozen times. I saw those things with my own eyes. And they changed. They changed. It's impossible. Like that couldn't be possible, but that's what happens. It really happens like that. This sort of thing actually happens. So how am I supposed to explain that to people? Get anyone to understand what I go through when that sort of stuff is going on in my life. You'll see that, like, and it's not just that, man. I mean, I get like straight up spiritual attacks. Now I can pray, and prayer helps. It does. When other people pray for me, it helps a little bit. I feel a lot better than I did not that long ago after a couple of people prayed for me. But you don't get it. I mean, there is some sort of like really malevolent dark forces at work in this world, and they are sure as heck after me, dude. I've had just the craziest sort of experiences in my life that I cannot logically explain away by any stretch of the imagination. It's terrifying, the kind of shit that I go through. But I can't talk about this with my dad. I can't make him understand. He just will attack me. He'll be, he seems like he's possessed or something, he'll get nasty. You can't talk about this with anything. I mean, it's like, and it's hard. Like, most ministers wouldn't even talk to me about this sort of thing. And there doesn't seem to hardly be any help. I mean, prayer does help for whatever reason. It does help, but it almost seems like it's temporary and like it's fading. It, sometimes, yeah. there is a God or whatever. I don't know. Some people might want to say is an archon or who knows, whatever. But there is like good and evil in the world. There is, or there sure as heck is a lot of evil. I'll tell you that. The good, sadly, doesn't seem to do that much about it most of the time. But for whatever reason, I'm targeted like hardcore. I don't know why. I don't know what's so freaking special about me. It doesn't add up. I don't know what the heck could possibly be so darn special about me because I've been a screw up and a drunk and acted like a fool, but for some reason I'm under spiritual attack. I'm under like supernatural sort of attack, like God level attack, you know. I get I just get the shit knocked out of me basically in a spiritual sense, you know. My life, everything I do, everything I try to do to improve my situation leads to almost nothing, you know. And there's just something that blocks my way, blocks my path, no matter what I want to fucking do, no matter what I try to do to improve my situation. Things just get worse and worse and worse. There are dark forces at work that are just ravaging and ripping me to shreds, basically, on so many levels. And the only relief that I find usually is in prayer and meditation and nature and things like that. It's the only like bit of help that I get. But I mean, I've had these experiences with God and with the devil or whatever. Now, whether you want to say that that is real, genuine, or that it's some sort of an archon illusion, whatever it is, it was very real. You know, it was very real experiences that I've had. They're very, very strange, man. I mean, when I talk about good stuff, like the God side of things or whatever, um, I'll give you like synchronicity sort of stuff that happens, right? A lot of times I'll turn on the radio and there will be a song that's specifically talking about exactly what I'm thinking or exactly what I'm going through. That happens a lot. Um, I had an experience where I just learned that I was related to Daniel Boone, and then I walk out in the living room and the Munsters was on, and they're wearing coonskin caps and says, you know, we're related to Daniel Boone, Herman Munster, you know. And then the next thing my sister's birthday comes up, and I went out to go bake her a cake. As I was watching Daniel Boone, I paused it right as it was about to start the next episode. I go and I get the cake mixed up and stick it in the oven. I go back to the room, I hit play, and the first thing is Daniel Boone's wife baking a cake. You know, it it's just on and on. Things are so strange, and it's like all the time. The synchronicities. There's been things like I had an experience back in I want to say like 2019, I think it was, where I'd gone to visit my grandma, right, at this. It's like a hospital rehabilitation type thing because she had an injured foot and apparently had cancer as well. And I went to go visit her there, and it was all dark and cloudy out, you know. And I went out to the parking lot to vape and wait for my mom and her husband to come out. just last minute, and I was looking up at the sky, wishing that the sun would come out, you know. And then the clouds started to part, and I could see the sun come through the clouds. I looked at it and I watched it kind of. It looked like it was rolling over, almost like a rotary dial on a phone, kind of. I don't know how to explain it, but the next thing I know, I look up and all the clouds in the sky were gone, and it was just blue skies and sunshine. And they come out, we get in the car, we're heading past around Safeway or whatever. I look back up at the sun, and there are lines drawn around the sun. You know how, like, if you drew a picture of the sun as a kid, it'd be like a circle with a bunch of lines around it, right? Well, that is what it was drawn around the sun in clouds. And there's a couple little white puffy clouds sitting next to that. Like that's the kind of weird, like the God type stuff, right? And then there's another thing, like I would go walk in the park, and I get like a little. This is like kind of God and the devil sort of stuff going on at the same time. I had this. I went to the park, and I get there, and I had started going there to get away from my sister's boyfriend that was so abusive and nasty, constantly threatening my life and talking down to me, talking trash. I got out of there, and he was like straight up possessed. The dude would snarl and growl and say the most evil stuff constantly. I went to the park to go walk, and I lost my mom. And I get there, and a bunch of cars pull in, as usual. I go to the park there, and I get surrounded by like 30 cars or something. I go park in a spot where there's nobody else parked there, and then about 30 brand new cars pull in right after me and park all around me, and they get out and they're just standing around surrounding me outside of where my truck was. I got out of the truck. I just walked through them and walked up to the trails, and I'm thinking, God dang, when is this gonna end? When are they gonna just leave me alone? And I hear this like ice cream truck or whatever it was. I guess it was an ice cream truck. It starts playing this song that sounded like creepy carnival music, and I just thought it was so appropriate. Like, oh, that's a nice touch, and I just kind of laughed about it. And when I did that, the song changed, and it started playing "When the Saints Go Marching In." Don't you want to be in that number when the Saints go marching in? And then I walk a little ways, and I look over, and there's a deer like about 15, 20 feet away from me, and he starts walking towards me. It was a buck. And then he kind of just slowly turns and walks away. He started to walk right up to me at first, but then he sort of stopped and was like, I don't know, you know. And then he turned and just slowly walked away down a side trail. And then I walk a little bit further, and there's like a couple of doves pecking at the ground right in front of me. Like, also mentioned that the first thing I saw when I woke up and opened the window was a dove flying from the top of the cherry tree. That that's like the kind of some of the kind of stuff. But I've had much more intense experiences than that. I've seen the alteration of time and physical matter like you wouldn't believe, like right in front of my eyes. I dealt with just the strangest stuff you could imagine, and a lot of it really terrifying. A lot of negative stuff. There's some good too, but the thing with God or whatever is, I don't know. Sometimes it's helpful, but it's like helpful but not helpful enough kind of thing. Like I'll pray and pray, begging that I need, funding. I need more money so I can have a home or something. And then something like, I'll start finding pennies everywhere I go. I'll go out to the car. There'll be a penny sitting next to my car, or I go park somewhere in a parking lot and get out and there's a penny sitting on the ground. You know, I walk the parking lot. There's penny after penny after penny. You know, that sort of thing. That would happen to me. That sort of thing happened to me earlier, like a year ago. It was happening all the time. Keep finding pennies, and then after a while, it started becoming dimes instead of pennies. And it's like, but it's like he's toying with me, kind of thing, you know. I'll have these like songs come on the radio. They're just talking about stuff that I'm thinking about or whatever. I don't know, man. It's freaking strange. But I mean, I've experienced things like, I don't know if I mentioned the time when the stereo in the trailer went flying across the room off the table. I didn't touch it. Nobody touched it. Something knocked that thing flying off the table. I've had things grab me, shock me, hit me, choke me. I've had something that started like made lines across my wrist like it was trying to slip my wrist or something. I've had people try to freaking that look like they couldn't even be alive. I mean, they look like they were rotting corpses or something driving a vehicle. Twice in the last year, I've had them try to run me off the road. Look very, very out of place. I wasn't alone. One of the times, John was, my mom's husband was driving, and I had to I had to say, "Whoa, stop, stop, stop!" I screamed, and he finally fucking paid attention, or else we would have just got hit. And that happened. That was the first time, and then another time when I had to drive back to a so-called apartment that I was at. I had another guy that looked like that, like a zombie or something out of a zombie movie. Guy freaking drives right for me, like he was waiting there. He just floors it, comes flying right at me, and then, as if by some kind of miraculous force, as he's about to hit me, his car does a 180, and he heads straight into a ditch. I mean, that sort of stuff, you know. When I say that I've been under spiritual attack, that things have been happening in my life that are absolutely crazy and impossible, I'm not joking, man. That shit is real. It really fucking happens. It happens to me. And so it's hard to think about like basic things like getting a job or doing this or that because I'm under constant fucking attack. Shit is always happening to prevent me from getting anywhere, basically. I mean, if I got a job that I had to drive to, chances are the first day that I had to go, I'd have my car wouldn't start, or there'd be some wreck blocking the road. I mean, all sorts of weird shit happens, man. Like if whatever this force is wants me to take a right instead of a left, and I head out for the road. No, I was planning on going left to go down to, I don't know, get a sandwich. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I pulled out and there was a flock of geese blocking the road in the direction I wanted to go, so I had to go the other way. Like that level weirdness happens all the fucking time in my life. It's every day. It's every single day, man. And it just, every time I go anywhere, it's the strangeness is there, the weird stuff. And some of it is like the Truman Show, like remember where he's tries to drive somewhere and suddenly there's a big traffic jam. Then he turns around, pretends he's going to go somewhere else, takes the same road, and all the traffic is gone. Like that kind of stuff. And he's able to look in his rear view and says, "Look, in about 10 seconds, a white, Subaru is going to drive by, followed by a man on a red bicycle, you know." And he's able to predict that. That sort of stuff happens in my life on an almost daily basis, man. I'll go places there will be weird people in creepy clown masks. There'll be groups of like gangbanger looking people like surrounding me almost everywhere I go. I could drive 100 miles away trying to get away from it, and I'd see the same faces surrounding me no matter where I go, basically. I've seen the weirdest shit you could possibly imagine. Things that I gotta write a series of books or something to just try to explain the experiences that I've had. There's even just one experience of the many, many experiences that I've had is like it's like the weirdest, strangest sort of stories you can find on the internet or on some, say you watch a uh, you know Christian broadcast network or the 700 Club or something or whatever or some talk show and they'll have somebody on that's got some incredible story. I have hundreds, maybe thousands of things that I've gone through that are equally incredible, if not more incredible than the stuff that some of the most incredible testimonies you've ever heard on, anywhere. That kind of shit is the stuff that I go through. And I can't, and I'll try to explain things to people, but, I can't, it's impossible to explain the shit I've gone through without fucking just sounding like I'm crazy or something, man. But I know it sounds nuts. It fucking seems nuts to me. It is fucking nuts. But that but sadly it's also real. It's also genuinely really happening, you know? So it doesn't matter if it sounds crazy if it's real, you know? If it's really happening, then who gives a shit if it sounds crazy? It is what it is, man. It just dang it. I just want this weird the high strangeness to stop, you know? And I feel like it's a spiritual attack. I don't know if it's some chief archon or the devil or what the heck it is, or if God is messing with me, or I don't know what, but something has been tormenting me and making my life just get worse and worse and worse. And especially sometimes there's been good stuff, but for the last year and a half, it's been the worst time, like one of the worst times in my entire life. The only time that came close was maybe Halloween of 2014 or something when I had some really scary, like near death hell experience kind of thing. Uh, Sounds similar to what people call a delirium tremens or something. It was fucking terrifying. The scariest thing I've ever. But the last few years have been the most miserable, horrible fucking time ever. I had to watch my mom wither away and die. Had like all kinds of spiritual attacks. Just weird, weird stuff happening in my life like never before. Like, and the thing is, it's like there's no help for it. The closest thing there is to help for it is to maybe call a prayer line and have somebody pray for me. When people pray for me, it seems to help. And when I pray a lot, it seems to help a little bit. but it seems to be temporary most of the time, you know? I just fall right back into darkness and I get sucked up by it and I get, because it's like I tried, I don't have that support structure kind of thing, you know? Maybe I should get into a church, you know? I don't know. But the reason I don't is because I don't feel like anyone understands. Like almost nobody at these church comprehends what I go through. If I tell a minister about a lot of the stuff that have dealt with, he'd just tell me to see a psychiatrist or something, probably, you know? They talk about faith and belief and everything, but they don't actually believe themselves or they don't know because they haven't had these sort of experiences that I have. There's few people, I mean, I guess there's a lot of people that go through it, honestly, but there's not very many that talk about it because it's people just think you're nuts. You talk about it. It's that's the way it is, you know. There's like a handful of people that talk about this sort of stuff that, that talk about experiencing similar things to what I go through. Just a handful. It's terrifying. It's completely fucking terrifying. So it's like, and going to a shrink doesn't help because when something is real, it doesn't help to have somebody gaslight you and try to convince you that your whole experience is not real, that you're just being delusional or you're imagining things. That doesn't help anything. I mean, that would be a psychiatrist would be like if you went to the hospital for a big bleeding wound or something, and you walk in and show them your wound, and they say that looks fine. I don't see anything wrong there. You're just imagining your big wound, you know, or somebody beat you up or something. And you try and tell somebody about it, and they say, "Oh, you're just imagining things," you know. It doesn't help. That's not help. It's just more harm piled on top of the harm you already go through, you know. And most ministers don't believe in stuff, and or they don't know the sort of stuff that goes on, or even if they do, there's not a whole heck of a lot they can do other than pray for you or something. But that's it, you know. Basically, they can tell you, "Oh, read First Timothy or whatever," you know, and they can say some prayer, you know, lip service prayers, and then that's it, you know. It's somewhat helpful, but it's like mild, you know. It'd be like if you're dying of thirst and somebody and you beg for water, go to someone who's got a bunch of water and you beg for water and they give you a single drop of water or something. And they could have given you gallons, you know. That's what it feels like. It's I don't know, man. It's freaking spooky. Dealing with the kind of weird stuff that I deal with. And the worst part is just feeling so utterly isolated and alone through it all because there's almost no one you can talk to about it. People just think you're making stuff up or you're imagining things or you're delusional or whatever, you know. It's the worst type of gaslighting, you know. It hurts, especially when it's your own family, when it's people that you thought loved and cared about you, and they just dismiss you and make you feel like trash, basically, you know. say, please help me, and they say, suck it up, buttercup, or they do a fucking job, or whatever, right? It's not helpful. It's adding insult to injury, basically. I just, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when I heard this cool girl that started talking to me and watching some of my videos? She said, don't forget people would, it's not true that people wouldn't miss you if you were gone. She said that I have a spirit family. Well, I know there's a spirit family or whatever out there, but where are they? It seems like I'm the black sheep of the spirit family or something. Like I'm abandoned, is what it feels like. Or maybe I'm just too afraid to accept it because I've been betrayed and I've been stabbed in the back so many times that I'm afraid to trust. But I need my spirit fam, man. I need if I had like a people that actually cared about me around, man, it's a whole other world, man. Even just having one person that loves you is so powerful, man. It's so powerful. It makes the difference between all the difference between life and death, between suffering and joy. It's everything. It's the difference between waking up with a smile or waking up miserable and alone. It's it's I don't know, man. I thought about going to a psychiatrist or go to the hospital, check myself in somewhere, but I don't know. I don't trust them because a lot of people have been hurt, especially over these last few years. And I know what happened to my mom, and I know what happened to my grandma. My grandma, they gave her an overdose of morphine and midazolam and put her down. They gave my mom overdose of morphine and potassium chloride and put her down. I know this. So I'm supposed to go in there and trust those people to help me? Unlikely. So I try to deal with this stuff alone. I pray, try to get help. It's a fly. I thought it was roach or something. It's gonna go push something. I mean, what are you supposed to do? And it feels like the whole world is turned upside down and turned against you. I mean, it's a fucking really lonely experience to be in that situation. And it hurts to see that to feel so alone and to know that there's all these like super nasty people that have basically the world handed to them on a silver platter. They've got love in their life and they've got true friendship, and I've got like just traps laid for me everywhere. People trying to hurt me, people trying to frighten me, people trying to just make me feel horrible. Just daily heartbreak every day, just abuse and heartbreak. It hurts. It hurts so fucking bad. My dad fucking breaks my heart every damn day, basically. The way he talks to me, the sort of things he says. It's like he just enjoys hurting me, enjoys making me feel bad. Likes to kick me when I'm down, basically, all the time. Dang it. That's one of the things that, that ends up making me want to drink. Just try to get like a temporary escape because when I get drunk, well, suddenly I think I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and I think I'm freaking Superman, and I suddenly find a bunch of great music. I mean, there are reasons why I drink that make it sort of enjoyable for a time. When I'm drunk, I'm laughing, it's comedy, I'm discovering all kinds of great music and poetry and art, you know. When I'm clear headed and sober, I start to feel better physically, but the stuff, the things in the world around me just seem to get crazier and crazier. And it's like the torment never stops. It just gets worse and worse. Get sober for a week or two, and suddenly the kind of weird stuff, starts going on like you wouldn't believe. So much weird stuff. And it's like just a steady abuse and intimidation and annoyance. It's like it just builds up and builds up. I go and everything just gets strange. Very, very strange, high levels of strange. And it fucking hurts, man. It hurts to be feeling trapped and alone and isolated. And I mean, I've heard this guy Regato talk about this sort of thing. He's like, does these things even let you get, you know? He talks about being like where you're isolated, where you're not even allowed to go beyond a certain distance before something like messes with you so hard that it keeps you from going anywhere. Like I haven't even been able to get into a different motel. Scenarios happen to set me up to put me right exactly where they want me when they want me. Like they've got me fucking trapped and isolated and fucking surrounded, basically. I'm like behind enemy lines here or whatever. And it sucks, man. To just have one fucking person that's actually on my side, that's actually with me and in it with me and in it, actually care about me would be all the difference in the world, you know? Without that, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. Without some love in my life or something, like, I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do. There's guys that are, every bit as much, if not more, of a mess than I am. But the difference is they're able to get ahead in life because they've got somebody there with them that cares about them, that loves them, that tolerates their stupidity and sticks around and helps them and is like inspiration for them. Like if they get hurt, they've got someone to take care of them. If I get hurt, I just gotta walk it off, basically. If they become crippled, they've got someone to hold them up. If I become crippled, I have to just drag myself around with my arms or something, you know, or plop myself into my own damn wheelchair and roll my ass around, right? The difference between having somebody that loves you and cares about you, that's there for you, and not having someone there for you, you know? Fucking sucks. I don't know. I talked about the kind of weird stuff that goes on. It's straight up supernatural. It's very, very, very strange. And but it's like hard to explain. I can explain it 100 times in a row, 1,000 times in a row, but it doesn't help if nobody hears me, if nobody understands, if nobody comprehends what I'm going through. They don't believe me. You think I'm making shit up or something, or that I'm hallucinating or something, you know? It sucks. Really fucking sucks. I've tried to tell my if my dad actually loved and cared about me like he acts like he pretends to or whatever, then he would listen to what I have to say, and he would if he knew if he cared about me and he knew what was going on in my life, he would do everything in his power to help me. He wouldn't bully me and push me around and say get a job. So you know he would comprehend, and he would be there to help me, back me up. You know he'd be, but that's not what happens. You know he just adds to the abuse. Basically a narcissistic, sociopath or something, seems like. And it hurts, man, because that's the parental figure, the only parent that I have left. And he wasn't even going to go to my mom's funeral when she died, man. That's how vindictive he is, man. I had to basically, like, guilt trip him into even showing up at her funeral, to even show up to be, supportive at all. And he couldn't manage to even be supportive for more than like a single day, really. I mean, as far as emotionally goes, he was nice for about a day, and then by the end of that day, he was screaming at me and throwing a candy bar that I bought for him out the window, yelling cuss words at me. Like the day before my mom's funeral. That's I can't stand this stuff, man. What are you supposed to do, man, when stuff that goes on in your life is so incredibly crazy that it doesn't add up. There's no logical way. I don't have I can't think of a logical way to explain this crap, man. I mean, it's like you're greenlit by the devil kind of thing, like like I'm under heavy, heavy spiritual attack, and it just goes on and on. If I had backup, if I had people that cared, that loved me, then this wouldn't be able to happen so much. I noticed that mostly it happens when I'm alone, because I'm almost always alone. Because if I was with like a girlfriend or something, riding in the same car with her, well, this shit wouldn't be happening, most of the time. It stops happening if I'm not alone, for the most part, because if other people saw what I was dealing with and they noticed it, then they would believe me, And they don't want people to believe me. They want me isolated, and they want people to think I'm nuts or something if I mention what happens. Because if my dad believed me about the stuff that goes on in my life, then he would should be a lot more loving and caring and kind towards me and not so abusive and bullying. If I had, one woman or something that loved me and cared about me, I'd have some. I mean, I know prayer makes a big difference. I know how much like better my life was when my grandma and you know, my aunts and my mom, everyone was alive because they were praying for me, man. They cared about me. They thought lovingly of me at times. So because of that, the whole world is nice. You got one person that loves you, truly loves you, and the whole world will open itself up to you because it's like they can sense it. In the same way that a stoner knows when somebody's got weed or whatever. Scavenger smoker kind of thing, right? It's like that, but or the same way that like if you're rich or something, you could dress like a poor man and walk into a place and they'll automatically know that you're rich, even if you're dressed like a bum or something. Most of the people treat you nicer and everything. That's the way it is when you have somebody who loves you. It makes all the difference in the world. It's the difference between feeling like trash or feeling confident and happy, because it's like the song, nobody tells somebody who loves you. It's it really feels that way, man. And as I've got older, all the people in my life that truly, truly loved me basically have just fallen away, passed away, and now I'm left basically alone and unloved for the most part, and it hurts. It really hurts.